Today we will be going through an action, war, and drama movie from 2013, called The Eternal Zero. There will be spoilers ahead in this video, so chill out and enjoy. The movie begins with the scenes of a fighter plane, bombing and downing American ships in the Second World War. The pilots of these Zero fighters were supposed to scorn death much as their samurai forebears had. He gets shot by the American ship after a short fight and flies away. The next moment, it is 2004 and an old man is crying over the death of his old wife. His grandson, Kentaro Saiki, watches him as he gets down crying. At lunch, he expresses his views to his mom that grandma must have a happy life with him. His mom tells him that she had a hard time too at the time of war, because her first husband died as a kamikaze in the war. The next day, his sister, Keiko Saiki, wakes him up on the phone to come to see their grandfather. They reach his Oishi residence and tell him that they want to know about their actual grandpa. He tells him that he is happy that they want to know him. He encourages them to find out for their own sake who was their grandfather. Kentaro learns that their actual grandpa's name was Kyuzo Miyabe. Keiko does some research and finds a veterans group on Facebook. She tells Kentaro that she asked them about their grandpa and they wrote her back. They go to the different veterans' homes and ask them about their fellow pilot Kyuzo Miyabe. The brother and sister get shocked when they all say that he was a coward, a disgrace to the Navy, and a negligent pilot. Kentaro gets tired and upset meeting all of these veterans and asks his sister to go back home. She requests him to meet another one before going home. They meet an old and ill veteran named Izaki in a hospital. They get shocked when he tells them that he was the best pilot in their flying unit. He was a brave and clever pilot. He shows them a Zero fighter plane, and tells them that their grandpa was a pilot of one. He says these fighter planes were the most advanced and equipped in those days. The plane and their grandpa was a deadly combination. He kept on telling his story and took them back in 1941. He says he was a petty officer back then and their grandfather was a brilliant pilot. When he landed on the aircraft carrier, everyone was amazed at his impeccable landing, while the other pilots were jealous of his skills. On the 8th of December in 1941, they went to attack Pearl Harbor. They conducted the strike with full force and destroyed the American ships, warplanes, and naval installments. After destroying their bases, Kyuzo returns to the carrier along with other Japanese pilots. They all rejoice in having their first victory over the Americans. But Kyuzo gets upset and walks away from them. When Izaki asks him what the matter with him is, and why he is gloomy, he says he saw a plane hitting the water along and in an instant, 3 lives were blown to bits. He says he is afraid and does not want to die like them. After some time, their ship was in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Suddenly a soldier alerts everyone that the enemy's carrier group is located at the sea. So switch out the bombs for the torpedoes. Kyuzo Miyabe comes there and says they cannot afford the delay, they must attack the enemy before them. The fighter pilots hurry to the deck and kick off their planes to locate the American ships. The American fighter planes engage them in the sky, while the deep divers drop the bomb on their aircraft carrier. The Americans defeat them in this Battle of Midway. Izaki continued telling them that they lost their carrier, ditched in the sea, and were picked up by the rescuers later. After some time, the Japanese forces were in Guadalcanal and the Solomon Islands. He says everyone was thinking of his survival, as the war became tougher at that time. Japanese Major addresses the Zero fighter pilots, that the Allies have attacked one of their airfields. He orders them that they have a new mission to attack the Allied forces in Guadalcanal. He dismisses the unit when he says it is a matter of their revenge. The next moment, Miyabe does his map work and shouts that they cannot fly continuously for 560 nautical miles. His chief hears this and slaps him for downgrading their morale. When he goes to board the plane, Izaki asks him why he said that. He tells him that it is a 3.5-hour flight for 10 minutes of the attack. And they cannot return without refilling the fuel, so it is a suicide mission. After some time, they were flying over the ocean to reach Guadalcanal. One of their formation pilots, Koyama, gets injured in the battle, and his fuel tank was also leaking. He crash lands in the sea and waves at them to rescue him. Upon reaching the island, Miyabe sends the rescue plane but he comes empty-handed. He says did not find Koyama in that area. Izaki gives his opinion to Miyabe that they should portray his death as he slammed into the enemy. Miyabe scolds him for his thoughts of death and suicide attack, and says they must care for their lives at all costs to save their loved ones from the grief of their loss. Izaki keeps saying that his chief was firm in his beliefs and strongest among them in the Imperial Navy. Kentaro asks him when he met his family in Yokosuka. He tells him that he met them once after Pearl Harbor. He went to his home and met his wife and daughter. He was really excited to see his newborn child. He spends that night there with them. When he comes out to go to the carrier, his wife stops him. He promises her that he will come back at all costs, injured or fit, alive, dead or reborn. When Izaki stops sharing his memories with them, they come back to their mom. Later on, Kentaro does his research in the library newspapers and finds another war veteran and self-made millionaire, Takanori Takeda. The next moment, he goes to his plaza and shouts that he is working on the life of Kyuzo Miyabe. That's why he wants to talk to him. He takes him to his office and starts telling him about his experience with Miyabe. He tells him that he was their flight instructor in the cadet reserves. He says the military roped them in with their Student Mobilization Act at a very young age. They wanted to make them air aviators without air-to-air combat training. He says they gave them no choice except to volunteer Kamikaze. After signing up as a volunteer in the Kamikaze program, Miyabe examines their tests in the field. He kept on failing all the students, and everyone was worried about his qualities. After some time, he was testing their dives again. One of their reserve officers, Ensign Ito, gets desperate to pass that, but his gear broke in the middle of the landing. He crashes the plane on the ground and the burst of fire takes his life. At night, the lieutenant commander comes to visit them, and says Ito was lacking in the warrior spirit and was disgraceful and disloyal to their army. Miyabe could not resist and said it is not correct. The commander punches him for interrupting him and says he has heard the rumors, that he purposely fails these cadets so they cannot go to war. After that, when they are in air combat training, suddenly an American plane engages them in a dogfight and damages his Zero fighter plane. He follows him all over the territory and Miyabe hardly escapes. One of the cadets rescued him when he hit that plane with his plane. Miyabe takes him to the hospital and says they are the future of Japan. It was foolish to do a suicidal attack. Takanori says he was a really good person with higher ambitions. He thanks Kentaro for visiting him, and says he never imagined he would see the day he would meet the instructor's grandson. After that, Kentaro spends some time on the internet to find other veterans. After some research, he goes to Kajura's home. He requests him to tell him about his grandfather Miyabe. Kajura watches him closely and starts telling his story. He says he knew how Miyabe longed for life, but in the end, he turned his back on that very desire. He takes him back to 1943 when they were busy in the dogfight. He says he hated Miyabe because of his avoidance of the battles. On the contrary, he loved combat. On that particular day, after downing some American planes, he asked Miyabe to have a mock dogfight in the clouds. Miyabe refuses him, saying that he is a fine pilot, and it is unnecessary for him to have a mock dogfight. After some days, they engaged with the Allied warplanes again in the sky. Kajura shoots some of the planes but Miyabe remains at higher altitudes. He ignores the dogfight. Kajura is jealous of his flying skills and goes to chase him. He somehow gets Miyabe into his tricks to be a part of his mock dogfight. He crosses him many times but Miyabe succeeds at the end. He shoots at him but Miyabe does not take this personally as he did. He tells Kentaro that his bullets did not hit him, because he appeared to be flying straight but was actually yawing slightly. So his bullets seemed to drift off to the side. After 2 years, in 1945, they were at the Kanoya Air Base. He meets Miyabe there after a long time. They go to the sea to fight the Americans. Japan was losing its planes and the war against them. Kajura was continuously following Miyabe in the air, while their other pilots were losing their lives. Later on, when they come back to the dockyard, Kajura asks him what happened to him and what he saw. He tells him that all the pilots who lost their lives today were his students. And he is wondering what they were supposed to achieve in the war. Why did they lose their precious lives? He says the enemy planes are far superior to the Zero now. Their anti-aircraft fire gets better by the day. He cries, saying that those boys should be the survivors for the better future of Japan. When Kajura says they could not be able to do anything, he yells at him and says they are alive because of their sacrifices. He felt so helpless that he wanted to sacrifice his own life too. One day, he signed up for the Kamikaze mission. He comes running to him, and yells at him, asking why he agreed to throw away his life for a nonsense mission. His juniors stop him from questioning Senior Officer Miyabe like that. He swears to protect Miyabe at any cost, and will not let anyone come near him. He pledges to ram his plane into them if he gets out of ammo, but he never would be able to get near him in the dogfights. After some time, Kajura says he switched his usual Type 52 plane with an old Type 21-0 that day. He says someone survived on that day and he hands over a squadron file to him. He thanks him and he hugs him before seeing him off. When his sister comes to pick him up, he tells him that it was their grandpa who survived and landed in his Type 52-0 plane. He goes to his grandpa, Kenichiro Oishi's home. Kentaro says he knows that he saved his grandpa. He agrees with him and says he wanted to save him from the day he stood up for Ito's honor. Then he shares his memories with him and says, when he was in the hospital, Miyabe came to him and asked him to take care of his family after the war. He also meets him at the Kanoya Air Base 2 years later. He also goes to the Kamikaze operation along with them. On the particular day of the attack in Okinawa, Miyabe asks Oishi's favor to switch planes with him. He says he does not choose to fly an old plane. He replies that Type 21 was the first plane he flew. He gives him his plane and they all fly to the combat zone. In the middle of their way, Oishi's switched plane started malfunctioning and leaking fuel from the engine. He understands that Miyabe did that on purpose, so he cannot go to the Kamikaze operation. After the war, he went to look for him and his wife Matsuno. He found his wife and daughter in a hut. He tells them the story of his husband and how he saved him by switching planes. She gets into the grief and asks him to leave. She remains reluctant to accept his favor and help, but he keeps visiting them. She gets okay with him after some months. One day she requests him to stop visiting them, but he insists and says he takes this as his duty. He reminds her that his husband Miyabe saved his life once. After some arguments, he gets up to leave but is stopped by Matsuno. She apologizes for her harsh words and requests him to stay with them. She says she now understands how Miyabe fulfilled his promise by sending him to them. Subscribe to see more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.